Infinite Height is here with a major trade shift that's rattling North America. Trade fights are on the rise, with no country being left. It is time to think of long-term wealth for the younger generation and legacy for the older generation. Will the world be the same again? Will allies remain allies, and will trust and policies change? Who will benefit the most? Will the chaos be long or short-term? While the US battles tariff wars and trade disputes, Canada is making bold economic moves, positioning itself as NATO and the EU's next top supplier. Could this leave US businesses scrambling for leverage with global trade on the line? The stakes couldn't be higher. Let's break down 7 key ways Canada's strategy could shake up US dominance. Before we move on, remember that these are unprecedented times. How countries respond to trade wars can be very different. However, remember here, the sky is not the limit. Click subscribe to please support us. It is free to you, but much appreciated by us. Now, number 7. Canada's NATO pitch. A strategic power play. Canada's latest trade push wasn't just another round of diplomatic pleasantries. It was a calculated business move during high-stakes meetings with NATO and EU leaders. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau didn't just discuss military alliances. He pitched Canada as the perfect alternative to US suppliers. The message was clear. Canada offers competitive pricing, stable trade relations, and fewer geopolitical headaches than its southern neighbor. With the comprehensive economic and trade agreement CETA already in place, Canada has a legal and logistical advantage over US businesses when it comes to supplying European markets. If NATO's allies start shifting their supply chains north, Washington's leverage in trade negotiations could take a serious hit. The question is, did the US see this move coming, or was it caught completely off guard? Number 6. US economic influence takes a hit. For decades, the US has enjoyed economic dominance over NATO's allies, especially in industries like aerospace technology and energy. But now, Canada is giving European companies an easy way to diversify their imports, reducing their reliance on American suppliers. How? Lower trade barriers and direct supplier agreements are making it more appealing for European businesses to cut ties with US firms in favor of Canadian partnerships. If this shift gains traction, we're talking billions of dollars in lost revenue for American industries, a move that could erode US influence over NATO economies and disrupt trade policies that have long favored American businesses. This isn't just about selling goods. It's about power. And right now, Canada is making a play to reshape the balance. Number 5. Canada's energy power move. A threat to US exports. Canada is making bold moves to disrupt US energy dominance by positioning itself as a key supplier to Europe in 2024. 75% of Canada's uranium exports supported Europe's shift to nuclear power, reinforcing its growing role in global energy security. However, Canada's liquefied natural gas LNG ambitions face hurdles. Despite vast reserves, high costs and infrastructure gaps have slowed progress. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau acknowledged that significant long-term investments are needed to develop LNG terminals. Still, Canadian energy firms are securing major global deals. Trafigura recently signed a long-term natural gas agreement with Canada's New Vista Energy, set to impact international markets by 2027. If Canada overcomes its challenges, it could reshape global energy flows, reduce Europe's dependence on US exports, and emerge as a formidable force in the energy sector. Before we delve deeper, do us a favor and smash that like and subscribe button. This helps us reach more auto enthusiasts just like you. Now let's shift gears and steer towards our next point. Number 4. Trade wars and tariff battles. Canada gains the upper hand. Rising US-Canada trade tensions have pushed Canada to diversify its partnerships, reducing reliance on American exports. After Washington's 25% tariff on Canadian steel and aluminum, Canada retaliated with tariffs on $155 billion worth of US goods while strengthening ties with Europe, Asia, and Latin America. Membership in CPTPP has expanded Canada's market reach across the Asia-Pacific, while CETA has driven a 57% increase in Canada-EU trade since 2017. These agreements have solidified Canada's role as a reliable alternative supplier. If the U.S. maintains restrictive trade policies, Canada has the leverage to pivot toward alternative markets with increased investments in domestic manufacturing and energy exports. Canada is shielding itself from U.S. economic pressure and positioning itself as a rising global trade power. The question is, can the U.S. afford to keep pushing Canada away? Number 3. Europe's shift. Canada gains favor. With US-EU tensions rising, Canada is seizing the moment to strengthen its trade ties with Europe since CETA's launch in 2017. Canada-EU trade has surged by 57%, signaling a growing shift away from US reliance. France and Germany, key economic powerhouses, are eager to diversify supply chains, particularly in critical minerals and energy. Recent high-level meetings between Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and EU officials have reinforced Canada's role as a reliable trade partner amid growing uncertainty with the US Trade Minister. Mary Ng's visit to Brussels emphasized Canada's long-term importance as European leaders seek to counter US tariffs and trade restrictions. With Canada offering stability and fewer political obstacles, Europe is increasingly looking north, a move that could permanently reshape transatlantic trade relations. Number 2. The numbers don't lie. Shifting economic tides. Trade data confirms what political maneuvering has already suggested. North America's trade power balance is changing. In 2023, total EU-US trade reached $851 billion, with the EU holding a $157 billion surplus. However, under to Canada, EU trade skyrocketed by 65% between 2016 and 2022. Despite this growth, Canada's exports to the EU dipped 15.7% in late 2020 for slightly widening its trade deficit. But this decline may be temporary. Active negotiations in critical minerals and energy sectors aim to cement Canada as an indispensable supplier. A small shift, just 5% to 10% of transatlantic imports from the US to Canada, could mean billions in revenue gains for Canadian businesses. With the US imposing tariffs and trade restrictions, European companies are already seeking new suppliers. And Canada is positioning itself as the answer. Number 1. The US Crossroads. Retaliate or adapt. With Canada carving out a bigger piece of the global trade pie, Washington faces a tough decision counter with aggressive trade incentives to keep European allies or apply economic pressure to prevent Canada from solidifying its newfound dominance. Each path carries risks. If the US offers better deals, it could lose its own economic advantages. But if it retaliates with harsher trade restrictions, it might push European businesses further into Canada's arms. Right now, the US is watching. But if Canada keeps gaining ground, expect Washington to respond. Whether it's through policy shifts, trade battles, or a fresh wave of tariffs, the fight for dominance and transatlantic commerce isn't over yet. Conclusion: is Canada headed for victory? What started as a strategic trade adjustment has quickly escalated into a high-stakes economic showdown. Canada didn't set out to spark a trade war, but with its growing alliances and expanding influence, it's clear that North America's trade order is shifting. So the question remains, will the US push back? Or is Canada on the road to becoming a true independent trade power? We want to hear from you. Is Canada making a bold power move, or is this just a negotiating tactic to pressure the US? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget, subscribe to Infinite Heights for more deep dives into the biggest power plays in global trade and the automotive world. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Thanks for tuning in. See you in the next one.